Hello, happy limbo week. Nothing like the week in between Christmas and New Year's. Everything should just close. It should be like a fake week. Nothing even goes on. I always work this week just because nothing is ever going on. It feels like a waste of vacation time. But everything should just be closed. What a weird week. You're still trying to mentally catch up from Christmas, which you spent months preparing for, and then it's just over. And then you have to get ready for not get ready for, that sounds ridiculous, but there's another long weekend coming up that you're already looking forward to. So it's just an odd week. Plus my work was closed the day after Christmas, so I'm working, when you listen to this, Wednesday. That'll be my first day back at work since last week. And then I only work Friday. It's just an odd week. So thank you for joining me. Maybe this will help you keep track of what day it is, because I always run into that problem. Happy Wednesday. I am going to be doing a case that I have wanted to do for a very, very, very long time. It was one of the first cases that I put on a list to do when we started almost, what was that, 4 years ago? That's how long I've wanted to do this. But I knew this is a case that you have to take your time researching. I knew it was going to be a lot of work. So I just never wanted to do it because I hate working. But I finally did string it together. I always stretching out before I'm telling you what I'm doing, because I'm sitting here and it's live on air, but I forget you can read the title. So you obviously know I'm doing the case of Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton. I think this is one of those instances you look back on and realize how wrong everyone was. She got so much hate so fast. And really, the Clintons came out completely fine. It was her life that was ruined. And at the time that this happened, late 90s, early 90s, whatever, when this was going on, that was just sort of what people, that was the expected reaction. Of course it was her fault. And then the more removed you become from it, and the more we learn about, sexual abuse, Me Too, that type of situation, not saying that this is what that was, or maybe I am. I don't know. You see how it gets kind of confusing? The more farther removed from it, you can start to see she was a 22-year-old girl who was having an affair with the most powerful person in the country, arguably. He's 20 years older than her. It's a gross, icky situation that unfortunately took time for people to realize that it was a gross situation. I think time has done this story well in her regard, and I'm glad that it finally was. So I have always wanted to tell it, because I don't know that people actually know what was going on here. A lot of the descriptions I read between Monica and Bill in this part, because this is going to be 3 parts. I don't know if I said that last week, or maybe I said I wasn't sure, but it will be 3 parts. If you are a subscriber, either on Apple Podcasts or Patreon, you will have all 3 parts right now. I will already have them loaded. They may not be edited, just because that takes, I don't have. Editing takes double the amount of time that the episode is. I don't know why, it just always works out that way. So if these are all an hour, that's 3 hours. I don't have a spare 6 hours between now, Friday, before Christmas, until Wednesday to really edit 6 hours of episodes. So what I'll do is I'll throw those up as raw as I can, and then I will I'll edit them down for the regular episodes in the coming weeks. But if you sign up now, you'll have them right now too. It's instant access to everything. What caused me to say that? Oh, all the parts in this first part where I read the interactions between Monica and Bill come right from the Starr Report. The Starr Report comes up later. Just know that it is a full legal document, investigation, testimony, deposition type of situation. So it is all, for the most part, completely accurate, reliable, dependable, and it just didn't make sense for me to look around to paraphrase it. So a lot of these things are word for word. It just, sometimes that's the best way to do this, and I feel like to do the story justice, I just took it right from the Starr Report. It's like taking it out of like a court reading or whatever. So that's this part. I read a lot of stuff from the Starr Report in probably, honestly, all parts. I think mostly part 2 also. If you haven't, what inspired me to finally do it, which is funny because even this is a few years old, I think, was the 3rd season of American Crime Story. They did Impeachment, which is all about this. It is amazing. Beanie Feldstein plays Monica Lewinsky. Sarah Paulson plays Linda Tripp. Monica Lewinsky was a producer, so she was on set making sure that everything was as close and respectable to the actual situation as it could be. It is very, very good. And Sarah Paulson looks and sounds just like Linda Tripp. It's actually crazy. If you haven't watched it, I implore you to listen to this and then watch the entire series because it's amazing. Or watch it first. I don't really care. It's just so good. And if you don't know who Linda Tripp is part 2, and she is a huge part of this entire situation. So I guess I can just get started. I don't know how long these are going to be. I'm sorry. I'm done guessing. I'm always wrong. If I had to guess, I think this will be short, and the next 2 parts will be longer, but we honestly never know. So I'm going to get into the background for a second here. So Monica Lewinsky was born on July 23rd, 1973, to Bernard, who was an oncologist, and Marcia, who was an author. She grew up near LA, so she had a pretty good family home life situation, with like things we're just like not used to hearing about on the pod. So she was okay. Her parents did divorce around 1988, so they were not together when any of this stuff happened. For her primary education, she attended the John Thomas Dye School in Bel Air, which is, Bel Air is the fanciest sounding place literally ever. Like, I'm sure there are much fancier places. Maybe it's like Fresh Prince of Bel Air that really like crammed it into our brains, but like Bel Air is upper echelon to me. That's the top of the top. So when I was like, she went to school in Bel Air, I'm like, she's rich as hell. So Monica transferred out of Beverly Hills High with a year to go before her graduation. She entered Bel Air Prep School, which was an exclusive 200-student private school where tuition is $12,000 a year. You will be proud to know I did not plug that into my inflation calculator, so I don't know what that would be today. She graduated from Bel Air Prep in 1991. The school isn't called Bel Air Prep anymore. I don't think it matters, but if you look it up, it's called Pacific Hills High School now, or Pacific Hills School. Friends say she was troubled by her father's apparent indifference to her. She sought solace in food and later in men. So the first caused her to put on the weight that she battled through high school and after. Her friend said everything she said about her dad had a tinge of resentment to it. He didn't give her any positive attention, and the attention that he did give her was very, very critical. So he's barely paying attention to her, and if he is paying attention to her, he's complaining about something. He was just never satisfied with what she did, which perhaps is a theme for the entire rest of Monica's life leading up to this. After her parents' divorce, she was already seeing a psychiatrist, and Monica was sent to an expensive weight loss camp. So Monica Lewinsky had to go to fat camp, which if you are like one of my younger listeners, which is weird because I feel very young, but I know I'm not. I think a lot of you would be shocked to know that fat camp was a thing that existed. Like if your parents thought you were overweight, you would literally go to weight loss camp, quote, but like it was fat camp. At Beverly Hills High, Monica was the tubby girl with makeup. She was a hanger-on with the in crowd, never quite accepted. Just like, that's how they described her. Eden Sassoon, the daughter of stylist Fidel Sassoon, which, if you're a cosmetologist, you know who that is. She said if we had parties, Monica would be there, but they wouldn't like call Monica and invite her to hang out. She was just like one of those like wanderers. Like she was pretty, not too popular, but she wasn't not popular, that kind of situation. In the summer of 1987, Adam Dave, one of Monica's ex-boyfriends, said Monica began calling him late at night and popping in at his family's mansion. She would bring him gifts. When he bought a white Jeep Wrangler, she also got one. When he was crowned homecoming king in 1990, she delivered a package that included 2 pounds of his favorite candy. He said that she so desperately wanted to be accepted, she would do anything to get it. She got more gratification in pleasing than being pleased. He did say nice things about her, though. He said that he would never forget her $1 million smile, even though she tried to, buy people's hearts. She didn't really need to because she was just, so pretty. She was so nice. But she just felt like she had to do all of this for other people, which also makes sense. Following her high school graduation, Monica attended Santa Monica College because her father wouldn't pay for a 4-year college for her. While working for the drama department at Beverly Hills High School, she also worked at a tie shop, so she's working all these jobs while she's in college, even though she lives in Bel Air, which is the richest place on the planet to me. In 1992, she began a 5-year affair with Andy Blyler, her married former high school drama instructor. This will be brought up later in a little more detail, but she had no problems telling her friends about her affair. She got close to the family. She would babysit their children. I'm not sure the validity, timeline of this, but Monica would later transfer to a college in Portland, and also Andy's family ended up moving to Portland. So I don't know if they moved first and she followed him there, or she moved first and then they ended up moving there too. I don't know how that worked out, but they were not together is not the word I'm trying to use, but they were in multiple places at the same time. So after college, Monica, what is wrong with me? After college, Monica began an internship as one of about 1,000 unpaid interns at the White House. Reportedly facilitated by Manhattan insurance mogul Walter Kay, a close friend of her mother's, whose 6-figure political contributions had earned him a night in the Lincoln bedroom. So she's got the hookup. Arriving in Washington in June 1995, she was 22 years old, and she was assigned to the office of Chief of Staff Leanne Panetta, who also comes up later. Monica moved from her unpaid position in the Chief of Staff office to a paid position handling letters for the Office of Legislative Affairs in December of 1995. So that's kind of fast. She moved from an unpaid intern to a paid person working at the White House in 6 months. So all of this situation, all sort of started because a bunch of White House staffers had to be furloughed for a week because the government shut down. So the interns during that time were doing a lot of work that they normally wouldn't do. So Monica had a lot of access to the White House and the president at this time. She said they would make eye contact, in normal situations. There seemed to be chemistry or a spark of sorts. One of the White House staffers came out and said she was certain this was two-sided. Monica wasn't just hounding after him. He loved to flirt. This staffer said that Bill Clinton would flirt with a dog if he could. He was a very flirty man who loved to charm people. And we know that Monica was the same way. So they just probably sort of just started charming the pants off each other. So she was delivering him something. And allegedly, this actually isn't allegedly. This really did happen. She said it. So she's delivering him something, and she was feeling kind of flirty, and she flipped down the top of her pants and flashed her thong at him when they were talking in the Chief of Staff's office while at a very informal staff birthday party. So she's just sort of flirting, whoop, showed him her thong. Later that day, Monica was walking in the hallway when she saw he was alone in a room, and he asked her to join him. She told him that she had a crush on him, and then he laughed, and then he asked if she would like to see his private office. So Monica later testified, "We talked briefly and sort of acknowledged that there had been a chemistry that was there before and that we were both attracted to each other. And then he asked if he could kiss me, and she had said yes. And then she left her name and her phone number for him." So a few hours later that same day, she was then alone in an office when he decided to approach her, and then they went back to the study with the lights off. So the study, I don't know if it's in the Oval Office or not, but they end up in the study a lot. According to Monica, she and the president kissed. She unbuttoned her jacket. Either she unhooked her bra or he lifted her bra up. He touched her breasts with his hands and mouth. Monica testified, "I believe he took a phone call, and so I moved from the hallway into the back office. He put his hands down my pants and stimulated me manually in the genital area. While the president continued talking on the phone, Monica understood that the caller was a member of Congress or a senator. She performed oral sex on him. He finished his call and a moment later told Monica to stop. In her recollection, she told him that she wanted to finish, and he said that he needed to wait until he trusted her more. And then she thinks that he made a joke that he hadn't had that in a long time. So that was November 15th, 1995. 2 days later, they had another sexual encounter. The office got pizza delivered, and Monica went up to the offices to tell everyone it was there. Bill Clinton was there talking with everyone, and a staff member bumped into Monica, so she went to the bathroom to clean off her shirt because they bumped into her and pizza got all over her shirt. And Bill was waiting for her when she got out and said that she should exit this way and let her into a privater hallway and kissed her. Privater, more private, whatever. He then said that she should bring him pizza, so she did that. She went back up to his office, passing his secretary, Betty Curry, on her way in. They kissed, and the president touched Monica's bare breast with his hands and mouth. At some point, Miss Curry approached the door leading to the hallway, which was slightly open, which was a thing that they would do so they could hear if people were coming. And she said that the president had a phone call. Monica recalled that the caller was a member of Congress with a nickname she couldn't quite remember. While the president was on the telephone, according to Monica, he unzipped his pants and exposed himself, and she performed oral sex. During this visit, according to Monica, the president told her that he liked her smile and her energy. He also said, "I'm usually around on weekends. No one else is around, and you can come see me." So, official records of Monica's, probably badge swipes or something, I'm assuming, showed that she was there during the time frame she said. And during the time frame, the president did take a phone call from Sonny Callahan, which wasn't his real name. It was a nickname. So they are fact-checking everything that she is saying, because remember, these parts are coming from the Starr report, which was the investigation. So they are fact-checking it, and everything is lining up. So she's telling the truth. Their next sexual encounter didn't occur until 6 weeks later on New Year's Eve in the afternoon. Monica was in the pantry area of the president's private dining room talking with a White House steward, Bianne Nelvis. She told him that she had recently smoked her first cigar, and he offered to give her one of the president's cigars. Just then, the president came down the hallway from the Oval Office and saw Monica. The president then told Nelvis to take something to someone. He's like, "Go do this." And then he and Monica were alone again. They talked about cigars, and he gave her one. And then she reminded him of her name because they hadn't talked in 6 weeks, and she assumed maybe he forgot her name. Because during these 6 weeks when they're passing each other in the hallway, he keeps calling her kiddo. So she's like, "By the way, my name's Monica. You probably forgot." He said no, he didn't forget. He had just lost her phone number, and he had been trying to find it. He'd been trying to look her up in the phone book, couldn't find it. So according to Monica, they then moved to the study. And then they were kissing, and he lifted my sweater and exposed my breasts and was fondling them with his hands in his mouth. And then she performed oral sex. So Monica and Bill have another encounter a week later on January 7th. According to Monica, the president telephoned her early that afternoon. It was the first time he had called her at home. In her recollection, she said, "I asked him what he was doing, and he said he was going to be in the office soon. And I said, 'Oh, do you want some company?' And he said, 'That would be great.'" So Monica went to work in her office, and then Bill called her into his office. So they also are not just meeting up. So they're talking at home. They have this plan. She goes into her office so that he can call her. So it looks like maybe he needs something from the intern, whatever. Monica said, "We made an arrangement that he would have the door to his office open, and I would pass by the office with some papers, and then he would sort of stop and invite me in." So that was exactly what happened. She said, "I passed by, and that was when I actually saw Secret Service uniformed officer Lou Fox, who was on duty outside of the Oval Office, and stopped and spoke to Lou for a few minutes, and then the president came out and said, 'Oh, hey, Monica, come on in.'" And so they talked for about 10 minutes in the Oval Office. They sat on the couches, and then we went into the back study, and then we were intimate in the bathroom. They engaged in the usual in the bathroom. We all breast fondling with hands and mouth oral sex. She and the president moved to the Oval Office and talked after that. According to Monica, he was chewing on a cigar, and then he had the cigar in his hand, and he was kind of looking at the cigar in a naughty way. And so she looked at the cigar, and she told him, "We can do that too sometime." The next week, they had their first phone sex encounter, and it left Monica feeling a bit weird about their relationship. because she like wasn't sure if he liked it. And I think at this point, Monica is starting to get a little irritated that he like doesn't really talk to her and it's all about sex. She had wondered if he had like another work girlfriend who came back after the furlough, and that's why things were weird. So she brings that up at their next sexual encounter on January 21st, 1996. She said, I asked him, why doesn't he ask me any questions about myself? Is this just about sex? Do you have any interest in getting to know me as a person? She said that he laughed and then said that he cherishes the time that he had with me. They continued talking as they went into the hallway by the study. Then, with Monica mid-sentence, he just started kissing her. He lifted her top, touched her breast with his hand in his mouth. According to Monica, the president unzipped his pants and exposed himself, and she performed oral sex. At one point during the encounter, someone entered the Oval Office. In Monica's recollection, Bill Clinton zipped up really quick and went out and came back in, and she said, I just remember laughing because he had walked out there and he was like visibly aroused, and I thought it was like very funny. On February 4th, 1996, they planned another encounter where they planned to bump into each other. So they like fake bump into each other and then they go to the private study where they end up a lot. There, according to Monica, they kissed. She was wearing a long dress that buttoned from neck to ankles. She said he unbuttoned my dress and he unhooked my bra and sort of took the dress off of my shoulders and moved the bra. He was looking at me, touching me, telling me how beautiful I was. He touched her breast with his hand in his mouth. He touched her genitals, first through underwear, then directly, and then she performed oral sex on him. So just remember, she's like 23 years old. We know that she loves affection and attention, and she wants people to like her, so she like, what's the word? Like overcompensates for something she doesn't need to, I guess. So remember that like power play is at play here when these things are going on. After their sexual encounter, the president and Monica sat and talked in the Oval Office for about 45 minutes. Monica thought the president might be responding to her suggestion during their previous meeting about trying to get to know her. And it was during that conversation on February 4th that she thought that their friendship really started to blossom. So, like, yes, they're having an affair, but also she thinks, like, they're developing, like, something real underneath. When she went to leave, according to Monica, the president kissed my arm and told me that he'd call me. And then I said, yeah, well, what's my phone number? So he recited both her home phone number and her office number off the top of his head. And the president did call her later that afternoon and said that he had enjoyed their time together. Then on February 19th, 1996, Bill Clinton essentially breaks up with her. He calls her at home and she said his tone was just very off and she could tell something was wrong. So she asked if she could go talk to him, and he was sort of trying to like give her the runaround, like, well, I don't know how long I'll be here, like blah, 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 blah. So this is the only time that she ever went to the White House uninvited. At this point, I think she does it like maybe one or two more times later, but she shows up uninvited, which she had never done before. Before this was all facilitated. He had invited her. She was not, what's the word, like sneaking around and trying to like trap him. He had invited her. When she got there, he told her he didn't feel comfortable going through with their intimate relationship anymore, but she was welcome to keep visiting him as a friend. He hugged her, but he would not kiss her. So this breakup didn't last long. They would pass each other in the hallway and sort of like flirt like they normally do. Like she noticed he was wearing a tie she gave him, so she would ask like very flirtatious, like, where'd you get your tie? And he would like, oh, some girl gave it to me, just like that type of stuff. These are two very flirtatious people. These are high schoolers trapped in adult and semi-adult bodies. One time after they had a flirtatious encounter, he called her at home and said that he was sad that she had already went home for the night because now they can't meet up. So in Monica's mind, he like definitely wants to rekindle the romance. He's like, I wish you were here so that we could hang out, is what she's hearing. He had even invited her to see a movie, coming up with some elaborate plan of her just happening to walk by the White House Theater and he would just invite her in. And she's like, I don't want it to seem like I'm just wandering around the West Wing for no reason, and then you just randomly invite me to watch a movie with you and whoever else is there. So she's like, can we plan something over the weekend instead? And he said he would try. So it seems like they're both ready to be back on. On Sunday, March 31st, 1996, according to Monica, she and the president resumed their sexual contact. Bill Clinton called her at her desk and suggested that she come to the Oval Office on the pretext of delivering papers to him. So she went to the Oval Office. She was admitted by a Secret Service agent. In her folder was a gift for the president, which was a Hugo Boss necktie. She gave him like several ties Remember, she worked at the tie shop when she was in college. And they don't really come up later, but he did wear them. I think he wore one during one of the State of the Union addresses. Like, he's like using these gifts that she's giving him. In the hallway by the study, they kissed. On this occasion, according to Monica, he focused on her pretty exclusively, kissing her bare breasts and fondling her genitals. At one point, the president inserted a cigar into her vagina and then put the cigar in his mouth and said it tasted good. So this doesn't just go unnoticed. A lot of the staff noticed that Monica was around or trying to be around the president a lot. Staff noticed that she spent a lot of her weekends there, and they would sometimes run into her around corners or something like that, and she would seem very startled, like she knew she was somewhere she shouldn't be, because like she had probably just got done hooking up with the president. Deeming her frequent visits to the Oval Office area a nuisance, one Secret Service officer did complain to Evelyn Lieberman, the Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations. Lieberman had already been on Monica's case, noticing her around a lot and letting her know like she wasn't allowed to be milling around the West Wing. Like, she's like, interns aren't allowed to be near the Oval Office in the West Wing. Like, you're not supposed to be here. Then Monica had to tell her, like, I'm not an intern. I was hired. Like, I'm a paid employee now. But she's on the radar. And Miss Lieberman testified that because Monica was so persistent in her efforts to be near the president that she decided to get rid of her. First, she consulted Chief of Staff Panetta, who, remember, Monica was hired as an intern to work for. According to Mr. Panetta, Miss Lieberman told him about the woman of staff who was spending too much time around the West Wing because of, quote, the appearance that it was creating. Miss Lieberman proposed to move her out of the White House. Mr. Panetta, who testified that he valued Miss Lieberman's role as a tough disciplinarian and trusted her judgment, replied, fine. So the White House officials arranged for Monica to get another job in the administration somewhere else. They did make sure that Monica maintained a job in an agency. Ms. Thomason's office, who was presidential personnel, sent Monica's resume to Charles Duncan, a special assistant to the Secretary of Defense and White House liaison, and asked him to find a Pentagon opening for her. Mr. Duncan was told that, though Monica had performed her duties capably, she was being dismissed for hanging around the Oval Office too much. She's like, she's a great worker, she just needs to get the hell away from here. According to Mr. Duncan, who received as many as 40 job referrals per day from the White House had never given such an explanation for transfer. So it's not like this happens a lot, like this person's hanging around too much somewhere, we need to like move them out. This is the first time he had ever seen this. On April 5th, 1996, Monica was informed that she was going to be transferred. They tried to be very nice about it. They like tried to really drill it in, like, you're not fired. This isn't a demotion. Like, you can even tell people this is a promotion. Upon hearing of her dismissal, Monica burst into tears and asked if there was any way for her to stay in the White House, even without pay. She's like, I'll do it for free. I'll work for free if I can just stay here. Mr. Keating said no. He told me I was too sexy to be working in the East Wing and that this job at the Pentagon, where I'd be writing press releases, was a sexier job. I don't know, like, why another man is, like, objectifying her right now. So she's distraught. She knows she's getting transferred because of her relationship with the president. And so now she's worried like she's never going to see him again. So the president called her at home and they were talking about her transfer on Easter Sunday, April 7th, 1996. She said I had asked him if he was doing okay with Ron Brown's death, who was someone that they had both worked with who had just died. And then after that, we talked about how her last day was Monday. She said that he seemed really upset and sort of asked her to tell him what had happened. So she did, and she was crying, and she asked if she could come see him, and he said that was fine. So she pretends to deliver him papers. They talk about how upset he was at her transfer. Monica said he told me he thought that my being transferred had something to do with him, and he was upset about that. He said, why do they have to take you away from me? I trust you. And then he told her, he looked at her and said, I promise you if I win in November, I'll bring you back like that. He also indicated that she could have any job she wanted after the election. So this is all happening during an election year. So that really didn't help this entire situation because they need minimal scandals. They need Bill Clinton to be reelected. So he's like, after I get reelected, a lot of this won't be as chaotic. If you can come back, I'll give you any job you want. We can continue to do this, this, and that, blah, 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 blah. They then had a sexual encounter where Monica ran off because they were interrupted like twice. So she got nervous that someone was going to wander back to where they were because someone had been calling for the president and he was just like ignoring them. So after hearing the second interruption, it sounded like someone who was like just going to walk back unannounced. So she just like rolled out. Like it sounded like someone who was comfortable being near them, not them, being near the president, where like he'd like wouldn't knock or something like that. So she rolled out. The president called her later and said that he was very sad that she had left like that. Like he missed her and he like wanted to finish, say goodbye, things like that. Monica testified that the president called her the following Friday, April 12th, 1996, at home. They talked for about 20 minutes. According to Monica, the president said he had checked on the reason for her transfer. He had come to learn that Evelyn Lieberman had sort of spearheaded the transfer and that she thought he was paying too much attention to Monica and she was paying too much attention to him, and that she didn't necessarily care what happened after the election, but everyone needed to be careful before the election. This is sort of exactly what he had been saying. Like, it's just for the best if you are not in this building when I'm trying to get reelected for president. Like, we can't get caught doing it during an election year. So he had told her to just try out the Pentagon. It's like, just try it out. You might like it. If you don't like it, I will get you a job on the campaign somewhere else. So April 16th, 1996, she went to the Pentagon as a $30,658 a year assistant to Chief Pentagon spokesman Kenneth Bacon. I read that was like a 50% raise. So she's like not just getting transferred around and getting the runaround. She got a 50% raise for moving to the Pentagon. Monica stuck out in the Pentagon because she was so much younger than everyone else. So she'd like, I don't want to say dressed better, but she was more colorful. She was younger, more vibrant than everyone there. And it really is her move to the Pentagon and becoming friends with Linda Tripp that really sealed her fate. This really was the catalyst for everything terrible that happened afterwards. Before I end this episode, I'm going to talk about one other thing that sort of has been going on this entire time that we don't really hear about, but also really solidified Monica's fate. And that is Paula Jones is another factor of this case that was Monica's downfall. In a declaration sworn under penalty of felony, Paula Jones alleged that on May 8th, 1991, so this is years before Monica, while working on official business in her capacity as a state employee of the AIDC, the Arkansas Industrial Development Commission, she attended the annual Governor's Quality Conference at the Excelsior Hotel in Little Rock. According to the Washington Post, a man approached the registration desk and informed Paula Jones and her coworker Pamela Blackard that he was Trooper Danny Ferguson, Bill Clinton's bodyguard. He made small talk with the girls and then left. At approximately 2:30 p.m. on that same day, he reappeared at the registration desk and delivered a piece of paper to Paula Jones with a 4-digit number written on it and said, "The governor would like to meet with you in this suite number." So she had never met the governor before. So they were all sort of talking about, like, I wonder what he could want. Paula at this point is, like, not a high-ranking government official. She makes, like, $6 an hour filing things for the AIDC. So she's, like, very confused. But she's also very excited to meet the governor. It's an honor to meet the governor. So as they're talking, his bodyguard was like, "It's okay, we do this all the time for the governor." So Pamela, her coworker, agrees to watch the desk so Paula can go meet up with Bill Clinton. In her mind, this is like, this could help her get a new, better job, like being able to talk to the governor about her work and like what she wants to do to help the committee, the city, whatever. So she's like, this might be like a good, like informal interview to like get somewhere else. So she gets there. Danny lets her in, they start talking, and then very quickly she said it turned into something like very creepy. He started pulling her in closer. He told her he loved her hair and her curves. Paula just kept talking about his wife to try and like change the subject that was going on. This meant that on the state payroll, using state time, vehicles, and resources, they were instructed by Clinton on a regular basis to approach women to solicit their telephone numbers for the governor, to drive him in state vehicles to rendezvous points and guard him during sexual encounters, to secure hotel rooms and other meeting places for sex, and various other things to facilitate Clinton's sex life, including to help Clinton cover up his activities by keeping tabs on Hillary's whereabouts and lying to Hillary about her husband's whereabouts. Although this pattern of conduct by Clinton may be true, the magazine article concluded, evidently from interviews with troopers from Clinton's security detail, including Danny Ferguson, that all of the women appeared to have been willing participants in the affairs and liaisons. We know that's not true. We know Paula was not willing. She didn't even do anything, and she didn't want to. And she said that 100 times. So Paula is freaking out. Like we said, it's not true. And now people can put two and two together because they named Paula in the article. And they're going to assume that Paula had a consensual relationship with a married man who was also, like, at this point, he might even be the president. So she had been, like, years ago when it happened, she told people, and that, like, she had rejected him, blah, blah, blah. Now this article's coming out from people who work at the Secret Service, naming her and then saying everyone who did this was willing. Not true. Because the false statements appearing in the American Spectator article that Paula was willing to have sex with Clinton threatened her marriage, her friendships, and her family relationships, she spoke publicly on February 11th, 1994, that she was the Paula mentioned in the American Spectator article, that she had rebuffed Clinton's sexual advances, and that she had not expressed a willingness to be his girlfriend. So Bill Clinton, who is now president of the United States of America, responded to Paula Jones' request for an apology by having his press spokesperson deliver a statement on his behalf that the incident never happened. He had never met Paula, so he's calling her a liar. Moreover, as recently as the week the complaint was filed through his White House aides, he stated that Paula's account of the hotel room incident was untrue and a cheap political trick. Paula Jones filed a sexual harassment suit against Bill Clinton on May 6, 1994, 2 days before the expiration of the 3-year statute of limitations, and sought $750,000 in damages for willful, outrageous, and malicious conduct. Okay, I know I said I was going to talk about that later, but apparently I want to talk about most of it now. So that's mostly that. Parts of this will come up later, and I'll tell you how this all shakes out. But this is all going on by the time Monica Lewinsky comes to D.C., and then when she meets the infamous Linda Tripp. So part 2 is going to be, I don't even know where this breaks off and picks up. I just started typing and I didn't stop. But we are going to pick up with Linda Tripp. And we will sort of get into that relationship in part 2. And then part 3 will sort of be the fallout of everything that had happened because of this. So if you are a subscriber, either on the Patreon or Apple Podcasts, you can head over and listen to part 2 and part 3 right now. But remember, those are going to be your regular episodes for the next couple weeks, so you won't have a regular episode if you choose to listen now. But that's up to you. That's neither here nor there. I, for one, couldn't wait. But that's that. That is part 1. That is how Monica got into the White House and how Monica had to leave the White House and how their affair sort of started from there. I hope you have an amazing New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, whatever you do. I prefer to do nothing. New Year's Eve is my favorite holiday, though. I think it counts as a holiday, and I love it. Champagne and, like, sparkles and glitter. What is there to not love? And it's just, like, always a good chance to say goodbye to all the shitty things that had happened. Like, it just sort of feels like, glad that's over. Maybe I should start having better years so that I don't look forward to that so much. Okay, thank you for sticking with me during this transition period for the podcast. I hope next year is just better and better. I hope there are better opportunities for me so that I can give you better content. It's kind of hard right now, 8 cases a week all by myself, but I do enjoy it, and I hope that that is reflected in the stories that I tell you. And I'm going to let you go. Enjoy your holiday weekend, your fake work week, whatever you want to call it this week, limbo, whatever. And I will see you next week for part 2 of Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, and then the week after that for part 3. And if you're a subscriber, you will still have your bonus episodes every Monday in between that. Have a great New Year. I hope if you celebrate Christmas, that was great for you last week. Have a great weekend, and I will catch you next week. Bye.